Welcome to Design Nations, and in this video I'm looking at making a finger joint box to hold post-its, or actually specifically looking at some of the features of MakerCase DXF files and how we can do a little bit of work on them to make them easier to manipulate and work on in Techsoft Design. Okay, so here's an example of a student's post-it box, and you can see the post-its here in the bottom of the box. You can see how there's a little cutout here in the front of this so they can get their thumb or finger in to grab the post-it from the bottom. We also have the actual finger joints here on this end view. You can see them again here as well. And this particular design here also has a hinged lid, and they've chosen as well to insert this kind of window of laser engraved frosted acrylic with this honeycomb finish. It's kind of supposed to be kind of bee themed with these little leaves running around the outside. And incidentally, this leaf pattern here was actually created by the designer. It wasn't off the internet. It was actually individual leaves created as vectors and then basically duplicated but then manipulated to make this kind of vine effect. So super cool. Okay, so where am I going with this? So let's just come now and have a look at what I've got here. Now I don't want to look at this yet. What I want to do is I want to have a look at this. So using MakerCase, basically we're going to create a CAD file, which is going to have a net here for 5 panels. You can see I've already glued 3 panels together here to create this, and the remaining 2 panels are here. And I can obviously put these last 2 panels in. And because of the nature of the finger joints made by MakerCase, everything is going to snap together and be nice and neat and strong. It gives more surface area for the glue to bond the edges together, and it also has this mechanical strength to it as well. And you'll notice that that is the perfect size for my post-its to go in. In fact, there's a little bit of a wobble there. Okay, if I can just sort of show there that it does, there's a little gap on the side like a tolerance, but otherwise it's fitting in there beautifully. So I could have made it a fraction smaller, but I gave myself about, I think, a 1.5 millimeter tolerance on this. It's a 3x3 post-it here, so 3 inches by 3 inches. And just something to mention about the height of this box as well, because I'm going to be effectively creating 3 different types of lids from this. And one of the types of lid is going to require a piece of pine, which is going to be on the back. And I'm not going to show you this in the video, but in the actual project itself, I'm going to have some samples, 3 samples to basically show, and one of them is going to include this little piece of pine right here. So this has a cross section here of 10 millimeters depth and 20 millimeters width. So that is 20 there, and the depth of this you can see is quite a bit thinner there. That's just 10 millimeters. So that is why, looking at this, I've actually set the depth, the internal dimensions of the depth here is going to be 20 millimeters. Okay, so that is basically allowing me now to get this piece of wood and basically place it in here, and it should sit beautifully with that top edge there. Now I've just created this little bit of wood here, which is from that same cross section. And it should be the case, if I take this post-it out for a second, it should be the case that this will fit in. And it should be that same height, that internal height there. It's actually slightly off, which is very, very interesting. So is that telling me that this is slightly more? I'd say that it's actually slightly more, yeah it is, than 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters, which is a shame. So actually thinking about this, I probably want to make this finger joint box literally 0.5 millimeter higher, and I'm going to think about that when I'm putting it all together, but that's good to know there. Okay, so that's why I'm making this 20 millimeters, not because necessarily the post-it box is going to be 20 millimeters in height, but one of my boxes is going to have this little insert, as you'll see if you're doing the project. Okay, right, so that is that. Now, at this point, I'm just going to have a quick look at MakerCase. So here we are in MakerCase, makercase.com, and just a few hints on this. Make sure that you're working in millimeters. Make sure you choose nice, easy numbers, so nice integers. And I'm not going to give you the dimensions here. You need to work this out yourself. But for our post-it box, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you need to make sure that when the post-its fit in there, there's a little bit of a tolerance just around the outside there. Okay, when I'm designing this, the dimensions I'm putting in for the inside of the box because again, I'm wanting to make sure here that I'm basing the dimensions of the box on this internal dimension to fit the post-it, not the external dimensions. 3 millimeter material thickness is what we're working with because whether we work with an acrylic finish or an MDF with a natural veneer finish, they're all going to be 3 millimeters. It's going to be an open box because again, at the moment, my box has no lid and I'm going to be adding the lid in myself as either a hinge lid or a different type of lid as you'll see. And I want to have finger joints, and you'll see these finger joints look rather strange at the moment. I'm not quite sure what's happening there at all. I'm actually going to set my height to be a lot smaller. Let's put the height there to 25. I want to press the tab key, by the way, to move from option to option. If I shift tab, it goes up through the fields, and if I tab, it goes down through the fields. And now you see those finger joints are looking quite nice. You can obviously change the way the finger joints work. Okay, and I would suggest actually that more finger joints actually makes gluing and the mechanical fitting of the box when you're gluing it together a little easier. And then what you'll need to do here is you will need to download the box plans, okay, as a DXF file. Okay, and with that DXF file, you're then able to bring it into, in fact, I want to download that right now. Let's do that. Okay, these dimensions are obviously not correct. I'm going to download that DXF file. Okay, that will go into my downloads folder on the computer. I've got a Windows machine here. Now, let's just minimize this and let's have a see where we are in TechSoft. Here's TechSoft Design. This is version 3. I've set this up if I right click on the grid settings here. So it's got a 5mm grid. It's got a 1mm step spacing. I've got pale blue lines. Okay, and what I need to do here is go File, Import File. I'll need to browse to the downloads, and there's the file that I just created. Open that. Make sure it's in millimeters for units here. Leave the rest of the options as they are, so to 100% size, everything grouped together. Okay, and when I bring this in as well, I didn't mention this, but make sure you've got gridlock turned on. I'm going to come to that a little later on. Okay, and there's the file. Now let's just confirm a few things about this. If I come back to MakerCase here, I had 101.6 millimeters width and depth. So this is going to be the width, and there's going to be my depth, okay, and 25 millimeters height. I'm just going to prove that this is the right size. So to do that, let's have a see. I'm going to get the attach tool. I'm going to turn off gridlock. I normally keep gridlock or step lock on all the time, but when I'm using the attach tool, I turn it off because with the attach tool, I can snap onto points. I'm going to get a horizontal dimension line, and let's just snap on here, and pull the dimension line away, and that's 107.6. Let's just compare that. That's not the same. I know why. It's because I'm looking at the external dimension. An external dimension is going to be the internal dimension plus 3, which is the wall thickness, so plus 6. So it would be 107.6. Let's come back here and let's try and get that internal dimension. So for that, I'm going to click on this internal corner, bring this down on 101.6, which is correct. Okay, now these dimension lines here are actually far too close. So I'll actually pull that away there, and let's pull that away there as well. And I'm not too worried about snapping onto the grid here because I'm just positioning dimension lines. Let's come on to the vertical dimensioning here. So we were looking here at the internal height of this should be 25. So I'm going to click on that top corner of the finger joint, this top edge here, bring that across, there you are, 25. And let's just look at the internal, whoops, oh, look what I've done there. I've still got the vertical dimension line on there, which obviously is wrong. So I'm going to press the escape key there, Let's come back. I think I can just do this as a parallel dimension actually in this case. Let's click here, and this should also be 107, 101, sorry, 0.6. So maybe so there's less confusion there. I'm just going to bring that up to there. There you go. Now I've finished with the attach tool now, so I'm going to turn the attach tool off. I'm going to come back to gridlock, and that means that everything that I do now is going to be on the grid. So I've just shown there that the dimensions of the CAD file that I bring into Techsoft Design are exactly the same as the dimensions that we entered in there to MakerCase. Again, obviously these dimensions are not the dimensions that you will want for your post-it box. Okay, so we're 10 minutes in there. At this point, I think I'm going to stop this, and we're going to have another video where I'm going to talk a little bit more about techniques for managing these finger joint CAD files in Techsoft Design. So I'll see you then.